Hello and welcome back to another video. It is me, Cody, and I am here to present the AFL Ladder Predictor for 2024. Now, it is a new season upon us, and we look back on 2023 with high regards. It was a great season, a great year to remember as a Collingwood fan. You know, we'll never forget that 16th premiership. That's for sure. It was a hell of a ride, and we move forward now into the new season. Now, a lot of new things, a lot of new players, a lot of new recruits all over the place. You know, a lot of things to take into account, and I think we're setting up for a very, very good year. Now, I have done the Squiggle Ladder Predictor, and as you can see, I just kind of got through it all by myself because I thought, it'll be way too long for the video. So at the end of that, this is who I predicted. After reviewing game by game, this is my prediction for the ladder of 2024. Here we go. So, we'll start obviously on the bottom. In 18th place, I had West Coast finishing 18th with how many wins? With 0 wins. I had them down for 0 wins. Absolutely no wins for the West Coast Eagles. Obviously they might get a win or two here and there, but I just think there definitely is a gap between West Coast and the other teams. I think last season, North Melbourne and Hawks were really down there with them, but I think there's just that little bit of a gap now where Hawks are improving, North are improving as well, and I just think West Coast will finish last, and I had it for 0 wins and finishing with 74.6% percentage. Right behind him though, also from WA, I was just recently in Perth not long ago actually, so right behind him I had Freo Dockers. Now, I had him win 4 games, which is, I think that's pretty reasonable. 4 games, and they're finished with 89.5 percentage. So again, I think Freo to me just aren't quite sure of where they are, and I just think they are very likely to finish down near the bottom anyway. And moving on to these next 2 teams now. So Hawthorn, I've got them finishing in 16th. And the Richmond, I've got them finishing in 15th. Now, these 2 teams, now Hawthorn, I feel like they're going to get better, right? They were definitely improving towards the second half of the year. They're only getting better. Richmond, I think, are getting a little bit worse. I think they need time with their new coach and everything else. And they've lost some star power. Dusty now, there's some talk about him being injured and potential missing the first few rounds as well. So it's a very, it's a rebuild phase for Richmond, and I just think they won't be quite as up there. Hawthorn, I can see them finishing between 13th and 14th, to be honest. They might surprise a few teams. But yeah, I think the Hawks finishing in 16th with 4 wins and 89.9 percentage. Richmond finishing with 6 wins and 92.5 percentage. I think it's pretty much, Richmond are just that slightly a little bit better. However, this might be a little bit of a shock, nothing too crazy. But 14th, I have North Melbourne finishing with 7 wins and a 92.8 percentage. Again, I think they really are improving, and Clarkson is such an amazing coach that, especially with the young list that he has and all these new recruits, especially these the draft players, I think they're heading in the right direction right now, and I think North will do better. We'll have a standout year. I can definitely see both North and the Hawks sitting 13th and 14th, but I think Hawthorn will probably dip a little bit, and I just think overall, if you look at the whole squad, there's definitely going to be areas where they are going to lose games because they lack in talent as compared to most other teams. So that's why I haven't finished in 16th. But yeah, North Melbourne 14th. In 13th spot, I've got Essendon, the Bombers. Now, this one, I could be off here. I think Essendon might surprise a few and they might do a bit better. I just think they don't close out games very well. And, it's really about managing those 4 quarters and managing the minutes. In the last few years, that's been really the focus. Back then, you can kind of be inconsistent across 4 quarters and still, win games pretty easily. And it still happens now, but I just think Essendon overall, their best and their worst is two different things. And I think that's going to be a problem for them. That's why I had them finishing in 13th, picking up 7 wins, the same as North Melbourne. I don't think that's too much of a reach, to be honest. These 2 teams finishing on the same amount of wins. But yeah, we move on into 12th, which I have Sydney finishing with 9 wins and a 94.8 percentage. Again, Sydney kind of, stuck in the middle, not really better than the way they were, and not really a lot worse than they were. Obviously, compared to 2 years ago where they did make the grand final but got smashed in that. But yeah, I think comparing to last year, they're pretty much still the same of where they are. They've still got a lot of young players, a lot of young talent, but they need the time, and a lot of Asian players, the Luke Parkers and stuff like that, where they're kind of getting on as well. So they're kind of stuck in the middle place. I can't see them finishing higher than. I can maybe see them finishing in 11th or 10th, but yeah, very unlikely to me. And I think it's fair enough that they finish in 12th. In 11th place, we've got Geelong. Now, this one is a bit, you don't really know where Geelong is headed, but I do feel like they're in more of a rebuilding phase right now, and kind of, bringing in new talent and kind of adjusting to all the changes that's been going on in the club. They're losing a lot of players. A lot of their Asian players are getting really up there. The likes of Dangerfield and Tom Hawkins, who probably should have retired, but is still such a great footballer. I think they'll do well. I think they could finish 9th or 10th. I can definitely see them pushing, but I think it is reasonable. They'll finish with 10 wins and a percentage of 98.3, according to my prediction. In 10th place, we've got Gold Coast. Now, I think Gold Coast will do a lot better than people think. I think in the start, they might drop off a bit. Very similar to Carlton in the sense that I think they might start slow. I think they'll have a very good start, just that spike and the adrenaline of having a new coach and, a new era beginning. But I think they'll dip off a bit, and then towards the end, they'll kind of start getting more wins. Once they've had more time under Hardwick and adjusting to his game style and what he wants, that high pressure footy, that kind of thing. I think eventually they'll start to hit a rhythm, but I don't think they'll do enough to challenge for the top 8 quite yet. But I think having them finish in 10th, pretty. I would say a lot of Gold Coast fans will say that's pretty optimistic, but I can definitely see it happen. They do have a good team. It's not 80% there to a premiership team, quite, but I think they've got a very good team, and I think across the whole season they'll start to get better and better and better, and start picking up more wins as they go on. In 9th place, and just missing out on the 8. Now, I've done another predictor, kind of separate, just picking my ladder predictor just based on who I think will finish where, and I had him finishing in 7th. So the fact that the squiggle predictor led me to put him in 9th, a little bit interesting, but again, it's not by too much off. They do finish with 11 wins, so and they just miss out on the top 8. Again, Saints are kind of also, they have an identity. They have a bit more of an identity now, but under Ross Lyon. But I just think they still need that little bit more. They could finish 8th. I can definitely see them finishing in the top 8. But I just think they're just so many strong contenders this year. Like, genuinely, the top 8 itself can, I wouldn't say every team can contend for the flag, but I think every team can beat another team on their day for the top 8, and that's what you want. Ideally, you want to go into the season where it feels like that. It feels like on a given day, Adelaide might beat Collingwood, or Western Bulldogs might beat Carlton or Melbourne or Brisbane. So it's kind of that. It's building up to be that kind of season, and it's quite exciting. But finishing in 8th and just making the 8. Also on 11 points, just like St Kilda. So St Kilda miss out on percentage. So I had the Bulldogs finishing in the 8th spot with 11 wins and a 99.8 percentage. And St Kilda had 11 wins and a 99.7. So only 0.1 separates these two teams, according to me. So again, you can definitely see it flipped over either or. But yeah, Bulldogs finishing in 8th. I think, they're kind of the same as they were last year. Obviously, they got Bailey Smith, who got injured, which is really unfortunate. But I think they're getting a little bit better. I think that if they really improve their shot accuracy and the conversion in front of goal, I think that'll take them up a little bit. I think that's been a lot of their issues, is they kick so many behind. A lot of teams do that nowadays, but I think Bulldogs generally struggle with it a bit more. They just get so many behind, and they can't kill team off, or they can't come back, or whatever. So it'll just depend on how they really go in those close games, and how they manage the minutes and how they're able to convert their chances, and that could be the difference between seeing them in 8th or seeing St Kilda. In 7th spot, I've got Adelaide finishing with 13 wins. finishing on 100.4 percentage, which I think Adelaide will surprise a few. I think some people expect them maybe to just drop off a little bit, but I think they're building more. I think Rankin is going to hit new form this year. I think he's going to reach that next level, and I think they've got the right mix of players to be able to challenge. We saw them last year; they should have made the 8, to be honest. But I think they'll come back this year with a bit more to prove and a little bit more experience into the younger players and stuff. So I think I've got them finishing in 7th. I think that's fair. 6th spot. So these two teams are just missing out on it. According to the thing now, here's the thing. I really think Giants should be making top 4. But yeah, I guess according to my game prediction, sometimes that can really throw things off. And again, it's not much separating. So I've got GWS in 6th and the Power in 5th. So both these teams I have them finishing with 17 wins. And Port Adelaide's percentage 110.3, GWS 106.2. So percentage is what's really separating these teams. Yeah, and so you can already see this can end either way. I can definitely see Port definitely finishing outside the top 4, whereas the Giants I can see them sneaking into the top 4 a lot easier. But I think Port in 6th or 5th makes complete sense. GWS I think they're gonna be stronger than they were previously, but I think at the same time, home crowd advantage, that kind of stuff, it does matter to drag you across the line. I think, I can still definitely see them finishing 5th or 6th. But yeah, moving on to the top 4. Now, this is where it gets a little bit heated because any of these teams you can call premiers quite easily and be like, yep, you're pretty sure that they can win. In 4th spot, I've got Carlton finishing with, how much is it? 18 wins and 109.7 percentage. Carlton is last year I predicted Carlton would not make the grand final. I just thought they just had that little bit of inexperience and they were getting cooked towards the end of the year. But my prediction last year was that Carlton will make the grand final in 2024. I had them locked into the grand final before I even had Collingwood locked into that grand final. So I do think Carlton will have a massive year. I think if they hit form earlier in the season and they manage their game by game, in a way where they don't burn out towards the end of the year, I think they're going to be really, really up there. And I think they're the only real chance to me, other than Brisbane, Carlton is that team that can really take the premiership away from Collingwood. Having said that, that means Melbourne finishes in 3rd. Now, Melbourne are always going to be up there. I think, especially when you've had such a bad off-season where there's so many negative things coming through. It's a time for the club to really, to get together and go, hey, let's express ourselves through our footy. Let's try to figure all these negativity that's happening and, bring everyone together in that sense and going, hey, let's prove ourselves with our football. Let our football do the talking. And I think they're going to have a pretty good year. I think some people expect them to drop off. I don't think they will. I think all the negativity on the outside will help them build up a little bit more. And I have them finishing in 3rd with 19 wins and 113.5 percentage. Top 2. Now, obviously, I'd predict Collingwood to finish top every day of the week. But I can definitely see this happening. Because of the game-by-game predictor, I had Brisbane finishing 1st and Collingwood finishing 2nd. So Brisbane are minor premiers, according to my prediction. The only game that they both lost is to each other. So I had Brisbane beating us at the Gabba, and I had Collingwood beating Brisbane at the MCG in the later rounds. That was the only game. Both teams, according to me, finished on 22 wins and only 1 loss. And that's to each other. I think they're definitely the two teams that are going to be the most consistent and the highest likely to be contenders for the premiership. Collingwood, I think, have a lot to prove. Going back to back is a huge thing in football, and everyone wants to see it happen. I mean, every Collingwood fan wants to see it happen. I do think that there's a really good chance that we can definitely we can definitely have back to back. I think we've got a great coach that just elevated the culture of the club, elevated the footballing ability of the club. The knowledge, the intricate things that. Most coaches kind of just want to focus on the football, whereas Craig McRae has really taken in the whole club and created a whole new culture that's based around the black and white and being side by side and that kind of thing. So it wasn't like, he was just bringing in everything new. He was just elevating what the club is really about, and that's something that's just done a wonderful it's been wonderful just experiencing that as a Collingwood fan from the outside. And, I've attended a lot of training sessions and just been around the club a lot in the past year. And I just love what's happening there now. And the players seem to love it. The staff seem to love it. The fans are behind it. And I just think he's really the best coach in the AFL by quite a mile. And but I just think that the Lions probably having them first is mainly due to the team. They've just got such a good team, so efficient, so accurate. So, you saw it last year in the grand final. You saw all of last year. They just punish you. And, I remember the quarter we had where we just kept pushing. We couldn't get a goal. And then you just get one counter attack and to perfection, they kick a goal from that. They're that team. They're that team that's really hard to break down and beat. And it took a mighty effort for Collingwood to do it, I'll tell you that much. But I think they'll definitely, they'll be hungry. They'll be very hungry for the flag. Losing by 4 points in the end last year, it's gonna light a fire, and I think they're gonna be right up there again this year, no doubt. But yeah, that's my prediction for the ladder. I think if it's a very realistic ladder to me. I think most teams are pretty much where they're supposed to be. But yeah, that's it. That is my ladder prediction for 2024. Hope you enjoyed. Take care and catch you next time.